Welcome to Sports Talk with Jenilee. I'm Jenilee, and I'm partnering on this episode with El Vaquero. And I'm here at Glendale Community College in Glendale, California, with a student athlete that I'm excited to introduce to everyone. This is Torres Bahamas Ingraham, and we'll get to the Bahamas part in just a moment. But first off, I want to thank you for being with me today. This is awesome. So I want to start by getting a little bit of your background. Where were you born and how long did you live in the Bahamas?
Well, I was born in Nassau, Bahamas. I was born in 1999, so I'm 20 years old right now. I lived in the Bahamas for 15 years before I moved to America.
Give me a little bit of your background when it comes to your family, you know, your mom, your dad, maybe what they do.
My father, he was a multi-level marketer when I was growing up, and my mom is a chief executive secretary at the archives in the Bahamas where they hold all of the country's records. I'm the last of 5 kids, so I have 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters, so I'm the baby of the family, so I'm the spoiled one, so they say. But I most of my siblings were out of the house when I was born because it's such a big age gap because my father's kind of older. So I grew up as the life of an only child, even though I had siblings. So I grew up both parents were in my household, so I'm very close to both my mother and my father. And went to private school, did the whole 9 yards with that. They wanted the best education for me, played sports, played every sport you could probably think of. And then here I am now.
Sadly, I think a lot of Americans, when they think of the Bahamas, they think of where am I going to take my next vacation at, right? So I want to ask you about culturally, what is it like growing up there and actually living there on a daily basis?
For the Bahamas, like, we take pride in being like the place everyone wants to go. We always kind of say we live where you vacation. We kind of boast about that to other countries and people from other countries. But like the Bahamas, it's really it's regular life. I mean, it's a second world country. It's not like the U.S. or China that's probably first world with most of the resources and stuff that those 2 countries have. But the Bahamas, I normally tell people it's similar to like a smaller Miami. We have kind of the same music interest, the language, the dancing, the food. There's a lot more seafood based, like kind of like Florida, like because Florida has ties with Haiti. So and Haiti's a Caribbean country just like us. So I kind of put it similar to Miami. So that's really what Bahamas culture is.
Not a lot of people know what it's really like to be there on a daily basis. And speaking of sports and culture, we're going to get a little bit more into you being an athlete. But what is it different? How is the Bahamas different in sports culture even than, you know, America?
In the Bahamas, we really don't have any football like resources and stuff. But Bahamians love football. Track and field, basketball, baseball are the bigger sports in the Bahamas. I moved to America to play basketball because I played on the Bahamas junior national team when I was 15. I played baseball representing my country doing that. I ran track, plan to go to Tokyo next year and run and do long jump in the Olympics for my country. So that's really more so basketball, baseball, and track and field is more of like athletics of what most kids want to be a part of.
I know that you came here when you were 15 years old, correct? And I want to talk about a little bit about what it was like moving here. How did your parents feel in you coming to the United States at the age of 15? And, you know, where and how did you end up in the U.S., basically?
I always told my parents when I was young, I was like probably 8 or 9 years old, when I was like, I'm going to go to high school in America. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go to the NBA. That was the goal from I was like 8, 9 years old. So when it was about time I was 15, it was the summer of me playing on the junior national team, and my mother's sister, my aunt, which is she kind of like helped raise me as well. So it was kind of like a 3-person parenting thing. It was my mother, my father, and my aunt. So she was a professor at Troy University at the Dothan campus in Dothan, Alabama, and I was like, it's time. So when my parents saw the initiative in me and my heart, my passion to like really go and do something with myself, like they understood that the Bahamas really didn't have nothing much to offer me left because I had already done everything that I could have athletically. I'd already reached my peak at 15 as far as like what the Bahamas had to offer me. So it was time to come to the United States. So they were ready. My mom kind of like, it took a minute, for my dad was more ready than anybody else because my dad was like, he knew what I was capable of. So they were cool with it.
Okay, because I can imagine it would be pretty scary
Yeah.
to have your child be that far away at
Yeah.
15 years old, right? Were you scared at all, or was it just you were caught up in the excitement of everything and having opportunities here?
I wasn't scared. Like moving to America, when I got here, I kind of got the little culture shock. Got kind of nervous because, like, I was used to always being around people that speak like me. So when I would speak at school, they'd be like, "What? What did you say?" And I'm like, I didn't realize I had an accent until I really moved to the United States. Because, like, I've been on vacation to a bunch of different states, but I was never around long enough for people to catch on, or they'll catch on, but it wouldn't be that much of a difference. See, now I have to live in Alabama, so they have to understand me and I have to understand them. So that was probably the most challenging part for me. But with me playing sports, I was around all of my teammates, so that got me acquainted into the school a lot faster. Kind of became the popular kid kind of quick because I was the first foreign kid that the school had probably had ever. So, I mean, I thank Dothan, Alabama a lot because I really call that my United States home. So when people ask me where I'm from, I'm like, I'm from the Bahamas, but I reside in Dothan, Alabama. I'm a Bama boy, so I thank Dothan, Alabama, and Northview High School for welcoming me and making me feel like home.
Now, I'm correct in saying that you originally played basketball a lot more so than football. I know that you already touched on, your goal is to be in the NBA, but now you play more football. So tell me how that kind of developed in your life.
I actually put basketball all the way down. I haven't touched the basketball since my senior year of high school.
Wow.
But how it was when I came to America, I was real small. I mean, I'm not really that big right now, but I mean, I was way smaller than I am right now. But I always said that I would play football to get stronger and get bigger, so I could dominate on the basketball court a little more because like size was kind of heating me from like really reaching my full potential. But once I put on the helmet and shoulder pads, I instantly fell in love with it and fell out of love with basketball in the process. Basketball became soft to me because I was always an aggressive basketball player. Now I was the hard fouling kind of guy, always up in your face. So it related to the football field really quickly. So I fell in love with football, and really the rest is history. Like, I want to go to the NFL now.
Never really looked back, huh?
Never really looked back.
I like it. Did you even know really how to play the game or the rules of the game, or were you just learning on the fly?
I always tell my teammates this story. Like, we normally be in the locker room complaining about what type of helmets we have. And I don't even know what's the difference between them. Like, I can't even tell with the face mask on. I didn't know shoulder pads had the straps underneath them, underneath your jersey. I thought you just put them on and put the jersey over the top. I knew absolutely nothing about football, really, other than what I saw in the video games and what my dad would say on TV, but it was a foreign language to me back home. But once I came, I had two very good friends back in Alabama that I became real close with while I was still trying to decide if football would be a move for me. And they both played defense as well. So I started off playing defense. I started off playing corner, and then wasn't really good at that at the time because it was cornerback is really the hardest position on the football field to play. So for that to be my first position was kind of too much too soon. So I took a step back, told the coach I would come back out in the spring of my junior year, which I did, made the transition to receiver, and it was love at first sight. I found out I was extremely fast, I could catch, I had big hands, so that put me on a pedestal with that, and I ended up becoming a high school All-American.
That is amazing. And you're right, because, nowadays, especially, I know you want to get to the NFL one day, and corners have a tough job because, with the rules and everything in place, it's so much harder on defenses now.
Absolutely.
Things in the league are much more offensive based. So, and you know what? Hey, maybe you'll be wide receiver and be scoring a bunch of touchdowns that way. But so now I want to move into a little bit of college. I know that you're out here now, but that's not exactly where you started. So can you just give us kind of a short background process of how you even came to be out here in California?
Well, I graduated high school in 2017 in Alabama. Fall 2017, I started at Alma College, which is a liberal arts school in Michigan. It was a Division III. I ended up there mostly because my high school went 0-10 my senior year. We didn't have a good season. Head coach got fired, and he was kind of the guy that got kids recruited. So my recruitment was kind of messed up my senior year. So that was one of the schools that gave me the shot, so I took it. I didn't really like the level of Division III football. I knew I could play at a higher level, so I decided to go the JUCO route because I never really knew much about junior college until I went to my D3. And then around the time, that's when Last Chance U became a big thing on Netflix where they would document the JUCO struggle of schools. And at the time they were at EMCC, so I was like, I'm gonna go to JUCO because I didn't flunk out. I didn't get kicked out of school. I just need the shot. And that's what most players that they don't feature on Last Chance U. That's mostly their thing. They just need the shot. Their grades be good, but they just needed the shot in the films for colleges to see that. So I DM'd, emailed every community college in the country. And I heard back from Coach Jordan Remza. He was the safeties coach at the time at Independence Community College in Kansas. So he said, we don't have any scholarship money for you, so you have to pay this much, that much out of pocket. And that's why I started saying the quote that I still say today, is that I'll go broke making my dreams a reality. So I said, whatever you got to pay, I'll pay it. So he said, once you're done with your spring semester, withdraw from Alma, come to Independence. So I had posted on Twitter that I was leaving Alma, going to Independence. And I got this bombardment of emails and DM saying, you're going to be on Last Chance U? And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're at EMCC in Mississippi. I'm going to Kansas. He was like, then they showed me the article saying that Last Chance U was going to be at Independence Community College, and they were filming season 3 at the time. So I'm like, well, it looks like I'm going to be on Netflix. I don't know. I'm not really there for that. I'm just trying to go D1. So I get to Independence, and see, they come back for season 4. I redshirted at Independence. I was on Last Chance U as well. But went there, and then just the whole circus of what it was not what I wanted to be a part of. And then, of course, they over-recruited at Independence. So I decided to travel an hour and 30 minutes, I think, north to Fort Scott, Kansas. And I enrolled in Fort Scott Community College in the spring of this year. And some things happened. Coaches were removed, coaches resigned, players left. And it was just a lot going on at Fort Scott. And then I was actually dismissed from the football program. So, and I actually got kicked out of my dorm room. Had to sleep in my car for 3 days, all that other stuff. So didn't eat for like almost a week. They really, I mean, it is what it is. I know it's a business, but then like you just don't treat people that way.
Just speaking on the fact that you don't really have family here. I mean, your family is super far. You're very, very young. And to kind of go through that experience, I mean, what was going through your mind when you're sleeping in your car and you're just, you probably didn't really know where you were going to go next or where you were going to end up. Can you touch on that a little bit for me?
What was going through my mind? Survive. It was just like, I know I'm going to end up somewhere. I know I'm going to be doing something. I just don't know where, and I just don't know when. But I said, but I'm not going back to the Bahamas. I'm not going back to Alabama. I'm not going to let my dream die. I'll die before my dreams do.
So how then did you end up crawling out of that circumstance and getting here?
There's this guy on Twitter by the name of, they call him Dr. JUCO, and we grew a close relationship in the spring from my spring highlights from spring football at Fort Scott. And he had me getting some looks from a few colleges. So he gave me his number early that year. So when the incident happened, I called him and let him know, like, it was in my car, like calling him like, yo, like I'm sleeping in my car, like they won't let me stay in the dorms. They sound like they were trying to make it seem like I can't even go to school here. So I don't know what to do. He was like, that's messed up. So he was like, write a little story about it put it on Twitter. So I did that. And he retweeted it, and then retweeted my film again, and then I got another bombardment of DMs from a bunch of community colleges from all over the country, and like 10 of them were in California. And then I had a team, my now teammate followed me and gave me the number to Coach Rome and my defensive coordinator, Coach Cepeda, and the process started. And then it was time to move on. And then hopped in my car with the little money that I had saved up from my business. Drove 23 hours and 40 minutes to California. I'm in Glendale.
So I know you wanted to talk a little bit about your business that helped you. Like you said, you didn't have much money. You're out here, you're paying for everything on your own. And I know a lot of kids that go here are not doing that. You know, they kind of get the cushion of being able to live at home with their parents still. So tell me a little bit about your company or your job.
Well, what I do is that I trade foreign currencies, or Forex, in the Forex market. But the Forex market is a $6.6 trillion market a day. So that's how much money generates through the market a day. And the name of the company I'm associated with is iMarkets Live. And it's all from your cell phone and by the power of social media. Social media changed my life and got me out of a situation social media could actually make you money. I found out about it in about May of this year. So September 8th would have made a month since I've been associated with it, and helped me pay for school, helped me move to California, helped me pay rent, helped me put gas in car, food in my stomach. So I mean, it's helped out a lot. If you look on my social media, I talk about it a lot. I make videos about it. Well, not really promotional stuff because it's not really selling a product. It's just telling people about the opportunity because I know it can help out a lot of people and it could change a lot of people's lives and their families' lives.
Now you are here. The football season has started, of course. I want to touch a little bit, since you are from the Bahamas, you know, you're here and you hear about Hurricane Dorian on its way toward your home. I mean, how did that affect your family? What was your thoughts and emotions on that, just as you were hearing that that was going to happen and you're so far away?
I mean, I laugh about my family so much because all of that's going on and they're trying to call me and see how I'm doing. I'm like, I'm living in California. How are y'all doing? When I heard it hit Abaco, I had talked to my aunt who I stayed in America with because she had just moved back to the Bahamas this summer. I talked to her, I think it was that evening that it hit Abaco, which is another family island. So it hit, and then I said, how's it there? And she's like, just a little bit of rain, a little wind, we're fine, we're fine. And then when I heard it hit Nassau, and I'm like, I have a friend that he sent me a picture of the water rising almost above his car in his front yard, and he stays 5 minutes away from me. So I'm like, if outside this house looks like that one out my house look. So 2 or 3 days passed, didn't hear from them. They were calling, but they told me they were calling, but the calls weren't going through. I guess the international calls or whatever. When I finally reached them, they were fine. And the first thing they asked me, how am I doing? I'm like, y'all the one going through a whole natural disaster right now. But what it did for me, being on the outside looking in, it gave me another reason to go harder. And it's like, it's strange because normally you want to just make sure your loved ones are okay. But I just got faith. I had faith that my people would be fine. If any casualties were to happen, it wouldn't happen to my people. I feel like they're covered with something greater than what's on this earth. So I had a stillness in my spirit that everything would be okay, and everything ended up being okay. So
That's good. I know you have so much pride for your country and being from there, and you wear a sash or you carry it. Am I correct on that?
yes.
Like during game days. I just want to touch on again, your goal is to make it to the NFL or play football professionally in some capacity. And, you know, going back to the Bahamas, like what do you think that will do for people there?
It's another way out. I feel like most Bahamian kids, they have Buddy Hield, who plays for Sacramento Kings, to look up to. Clay Thompson, who's not all the way Bahamian, but his father is fully Bahamian. Michael Sweet Bells Thompson, know him personally, played with the Lakers with Magic Johnson. He's from the Bahamas, so they have basketball icons to look up to. But there's a lot of kids that love football but don't have the resources to play or know much about the game. I want to be that first guy to really be able to put my country on the map and be able to show them that, hey, we're from this country, but we could play this sport too, and we could be dominant and play it at a high level. I feel like it's not really a burden. It's like what I want to take on to myself and be able to give my country.